This podcast is produced by Outcomes Rocket, your healthcare exclusive digital marketing agency. Outcomes Rocket exists to help healthcare organizations like yours to maximize their impact and accelerate growth. Visit outcomesrocket.com or text us at 312-224-9945.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Outcomes Rocket. I'm so excited to be hosting the outstanding Steve Downey on the podcast. He's the Chief Supply Chain and Support Services Officer at Cleveland Clinic. Steve, I'm so pumped that you could be with us today.
Thank you, Saul. Happy to be here.
Hey, look, just a privilege. We could always learn so much from leaders like you. And to kick things off, I just want to offer our folks some context. You guys have been listening to a few episodes that we put out on the podcast. This is all about the Gartner Healthcare Supply Chain Top 25. And that Top 25 recognizes health systems that set the standard for supply chain excellence, where they blend both data-driven and peer-reviewed insights to get this award. And earning a place in that top 25 signals industry leadership on improving things like patient outcomes, managing costs, driving innovation. Resilience is a big thing this year. And in those organizations is Steve's organization, the Cleveland Clinic. And today we're going to do a little preview of a panel that we're doing at the GHX Summit in a couple days. You're actually listening to this episode the day of the summit. So you might be taking your jog this morning and seeing us later. But if you're not going to be there, don't worry. This is tip of the iceberg, and we'll be coming at you with a summary of the entire panel. But Steve, so grateful that you could do this with us.
Yeah, glad to do it, Saul. Thank you.
Absolutely. So look, to kick things off, I want to focus on strategic leadership. Gartner recognized your health system for supply chain excellence. Why do you think you were chosen? What were the key factors and decisions that you feel your team earned the spot with?
Yeah, really a good question for Gartner, but we do have a number of things that are kind of stand out in what we do. I would say we're always trying to push the envelope of new things. It's cultural for the clinic that we don't accept the norm, and we're always looking for how do we do more, what's next. So innovation is core to what we do, and then we educate around it. So in the world of digital, we'll talk in a bit about other digital things we're working on. There's always if we're going to try to drive innovation in our industry, how far can we take this initiative? How do we use chatbots to help our clinicians, for example? Or in clinical areas, let's try new products or new technologies and then tell others about them. We also spend time learning from other industries. I think it's really important that healthcare learn from others who've trod the way, particularly in supply chain. And I'll give you a great example. We were looking for somewhere that could manage risk the best. We see a lot of incidences with suppliers and risk. And in looking at that, we said the best seems to be banking. Banking is really controlling your supply base, and they have a very tight set of controls around supplier performance and cyber and online and supplier accountability and everything. And so we talked to the banking industry, and it was exactly what we were looking for. Here we were trying to invent resiliency solutions when another industry had already done it. Okay, great. Where are they? How do we adjust it for healthcare? But how do we be better when areas that have already tried this? Automotive has done supply networking. The consumer goods folks have done demand planning. What are those areas that other industries have tried that we could just learn? And I try to spend a lot of time pushing my team to keep expanding that and don't just look for what health systems are doing, but look for what the other industries have done. And then I guess the last is share it. And we are not afraid to use our voice to say, this is what we're doing. Here are the 3 things we messed up on the way doing it. What we learned in that process. And anybody wants to know, I get calls all the time. Oh, Steve, how did that work for you? Where did you learn in that process? You went to centralize X. How did that work? We're in a big initiative now doing procedure cards. And lots of folks are tackling that in their health systems. Like, I'm happy to share how we did on that front. And everybody can learn from our success or our failures. It's fine. I think all those contributed.
Steve, I love that. And I think we often in healthcare get siloed to healthcare. and we forget to look outside. And you just mentioned some brilliant examples of automotive for supply, networking, banking for security and cyber, demand planning. Let's go to consumer. All our answers are here. Let's learn from the best, and then let's customize them for healthcare. And best of all, so I'm a huge fan of just leadership books, John Maxwell. And one of the things that he says is learn it, but then share it. And I think from kind of your leadership perspective, Steve, you're always sharing. And I think that's great. It makes a big difference. You mentioned innovation. How's your organization leveraging digital transformation? You mentioned chatbots, but whether it's automation or AI or analytics, how are you using that to optimize supply chain operations?
Yeah, pretty broadly, actually. We have a core function within my team that's focused on technology, analytics, P2P, and led by a great contributor. And that focus helps us say what technology will help us take this to the next step. We have a really solid foundation to build on. We have one ERP, one EHR, one inventory management platform, one procurement platform, system-wide. And so rather than having cobbled together pieces that you have to collect and struggle your way through, we've already done the system work, and that team has cycled through every site, all our acquisitions, and every time we have a new one, it brings them up on our technology platform. So we have the base layer in place. The data is well organized as part of it, and we've recognized the fact you need a central repository to be able to do anything on top of your data. Especially in today's world of things like AI and large language models, how do you do that when you have a, let's say, disparate contract portfolio, right? They're in people's drawers, they're in cabinets, they're in 3 different systems. You can't ask large language questions on your contract portfolio if they're all over the place. So we recognized that and said, put all your things into one place, put them into one procurement platform, and then that enables you to start using new technologies on top of it, which we are doing. We have large language models on top of our contracts. We're now working through how does that work across clause writing or risk management that tells you, don't accept this. This is a very risky clause, any of those, and ask questions like, what contracts expire in the next 6 months that have a most favored nation clause or something like that. You can ask that against it. We also manage it with Agile, and that's not a common thing in healthcare, but lots of other tech industry folks do Agile management of their tech platforms. So we're always looking for how do we change with needs, what's happening in the market, what's happening in our analytics that we need faster. Tariffs is a great example for that. We did not have tariffs in our analytical roadmap, but as we were doing a roadmap review, we said, you know what, we got to build analytics around tariffs. We got to do country of origin data, put a graphic around that, adjust a slider. So if we have impacts, we can see the impact. Analytics team then just looks at their Agile map and says, okay, is everybody all right if these delay because of that? Is that a trade-off we're willing to make? It is. Great. And then the team shifts to go build that, comes back just in an Agile way. We built some RPA and some chatbots, some automation that's really like conversions, I think is a great example. Doing product conversions in our industry happens a lot, and there's a lot of SKUs. You switch from one orthopedic provider to another, there's thousands of SKUs, and now you got to update labels and prices, and contracts at all your sites. We created an RPA engine that does that for the team. Bink, next thing you know, it's all done.
I love that.
Like, oh, this is incredible to see. And they, all the repositories will take it from our procurement platform into our inventory platform, into our ERP, and people don't have to do any of it. So we keep looking for those, like, how do we automate? How do we drive AI or agentic or chatbots or whatever kind of bot we can bring on top of this to drive it to the next level? So far, where I would say good, but I'd love to see where this is going to go next. I think we're right at the beginning of it.
That's super exciting, Steve. Thanks for sharing some more great use cases for some of these technologies. At the end of the day, it starts with standardization, a tech stack that is standardized across all the health system, whether it be EMR, the thank you, ERP, a lot of acronyms here. Making sure those are all in the right place to layer in. I'm fascinated by the LLM use case on contracts. I think that's fascinating. And then on the conversion front, to have a chatbot that can help with that, I know that's a heavy lift. Folks, tip of the iceberg here. If you're going to be at the summit to hear the full interview, I'm sure Steve will be diving into more detail on some of these use cases, but certainly exciting. What about people and collaboration, right? Nothing happens without people. We rely heavily on teamwork. How are you fostering collaboration across departments, especially with clinical teams, to ensure lasting impact?
Yeah, that's a great question, Al, because it ties in with the technology. You can't get to technology if you don't have great people, great processes, standardization. It's the people who create that engine. And it is always, as I look around the enterprise, if we have a pocket of something that's not working right, it's a people problem. It's not often a technology problem. We either don't have a good process or we don't have good people. And then we look at both and then figure it out. We have a culture of a team of teams. It is one of the things I love about the clinic. It started in our roots in World War I, the fact that the force physicians came together as a team of teams to provide healthcare. That culture has continued. As shortages happen in the market, it's my favorite example. Rather than say, Steve, how come you let this happen? Why did we run out of IV fluids or whatever? It is, okay, tell us our situation. What have we done to now figure out what our path forward is? And how do I help? And everybody jumps in. Now, I might have a few more people than you would hope for in that team of teams. They may be a lot of teams, but it's a culture of let's help. And everybody jumps in, and you have pharmacy and nursing and surgeons and surge ops and all kinds of teams all surrounding what we do. And everybody wants to bring their expertise. So we may be the champion of it. We may drive, coordinate, implement some things, but we're not the only one carrying it. And I'm not running around trying to figure out how to do something different in the pharmacy world. Everybody's jumped in. And that's a cultural thing that I think starts from the top. We also work on how do you handle local care with global standards? And it's an interesting question for people. If you think we're a big health system, we have places in Ohio and Florida and London, Abu Dhabi, like how does all that work? How do you have, let's say, local food or a decision that a private practice physician may want to use? We, first of all, view ourselves as a service organization. Supply chain is a shared service for the enterprise. We set the standards. We report on compliance globally, and the teams can choose locally. So you empower local decision-making. If, for example, in Florida, they want to serve a local menu, you're empowered to do that. You should empower. However, our heart-healthy diet is the same heart-healthy diet, wherever that is. Or our formula for hips, and there may be some other choice, but we have a standard, and we'll report performance against the standard. There may be a reason to use something different. It's okay. So we are a service organization. That helps folks feel locally empowered, but they know the boundaries and they know that we're going to report on large deviations or deviations that cost money or whatever. Our communication is also really purposeful. We do institute business reviews. So we'll sit with the leaders of the institute and talk about what's happening in their supply chain world. How does supplier X with supplier Y? Or how's your formulary compliance? Or what challenges are they having in their strategies? How does it all come together? What shortages have affected them? And they get bought in on our initiatives and we procedure cards or what's happening in their surgical suites. We also do executive reviews that bring all of the clinicians together with the executive leadership that says initiative-based discussions against strategy, and how does supply chain play a strategic lever there? And I'm fortunate the organization recognizes supply chain as a strategic lever. We control 90+% of our spend. The team knows that we're collaborative with everybody. They'll hear issues. They can bring issues to me. In those sorts of forums, we're looking for how do we do things bigger, differently, leverage. And then I get to communicate that to the enterprise. It's not supply chain in a black box. It's not a supply chain has made me do it. We're in front of everybody. And we know you're here to help. We're here to help. We're all in this together for the patient. And we use that language. We talk about it. They feel it. And we're making decisions together. It really becomes clinically driven. and they hear us doing that in front of them, everybody's supportive of what we're doing.
That's fantastic, Steve. I love that. And the legacy goes back to the beginning, the team of teams, World War I, all the way to now, and it's palpable. So I really love how mission driven you guys are. And now all of it comes back to results, patient outcomes, results to the organization. Look, I've really enjoyed our time together. As I said, everybody listening and viewing, this is a teaser. If you want to get the full thing, you're going to have to be in the room with us on Thursday. So certainly, if you're there, make sure you take some snapshots while we're up on stage and share the best practices that Steve and the panel are going to share. It's going to be a really good one. But for those of you that cannot, Steve, what closing thoughts would you leave to supply chain and healthcare leaders looking to maximize their impact and outcomes in healthcare?
Well, I guess first, I look forward to seeing you, and I look forward to seeing any of the audience who come to the event and want to come up. I'm happy to have deeper conversations with anybody. I think the chances now, this is the spotlight for supply chain, and it is a burning platform. Health systems are under huge financial pressures, and the headwinds just continue. We get gales from the left and windstorms from the right, and you never quite know. But now is the time for us to be helping the organizations weather that. And as a strategic asset, you're present with the C-suite, you're present with the clinicians, you're educating them on changes that are happening in the industry and in the government and other things that affect it, and you're helping navigate that path. You, as the supply chain expert, are the one who has to do that. Nobody's going to do it for them. And now is when everybody wants to best leverage spend. Nobody wants to cut costs with any other way. This is the best way to do it. Smart spend management, everybody's in favor of. It's hard to argue. So use innovation, use new technologies, use new ideas, leverage today to drive the change, and bring those stakeholders in with you. What do you want to do differently, Saul? What challenges are you having in your daily operations or in your supply chain or in your SPD or with your vendors that we can help with? And if you're part of that challenge in your decision making and we're bouncing ideas off you, and then next time you're like, I'm going to call Steve. Steve is the way I got through that last one. I'm going to do that again. And we have teams set up that are your partners. So therefore, you've got your person that you work with. You have your local folks. You feel part of the answer. And together, then you're solving the health systems challenges. And it's your answers as you're doing it. That's the best way to solve it. And I think now's the time for it.
Well said, Steve, and a great way to close on this teaser preview. I want to, again, just congratulate you and the Cleveland Clinic team on your award, another year on the Gartner Healthcare Supply Chain Top 25. Just big congratulations to you and the team for that. And super excited to be joined with you in a couple days in Atlanta, Steve. So thank you so much for doing this. It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks, Sal.
This podcast is produced by Outcomes Rocket, your healthcare exclusive digital marketing agency. Outcomes Rocket exists to help healthcare organizations like yours to maximize their impact and accelerate growth. Visit outcomesrocket.com or text us at 312-224-9945.